Hey guys. Wow. Good to see. We've got a pretty good bunch on here. And I just wanted to welcome y'all to the podcast. Welcome back. And yes, we have a guest tonight who's been on here before, both he and his sister. And he is so very informative on what's going on in the area, Western Pennsylvania, and over into Moundsville, West Virginia. Also, he covers a pretty wide area. And it's, yes, Deb. Yep. It's the guy from the camp out at Ryerson Station. Terry Ronzio and his sister Gina will be on with us this evening. I am so grateful to Terry for jumping in and pinch hitting whenever I needed him. Great guy, really great guy. So anyone on here who has their own podcast, if you need a very informative guy on all kinds of different subjects, it's cryptids and UFOs and ghosts and as well as local history and the Mounds people. But yeah, Terry Ronzio. But we'll be bringing them on in just a little bit. Hey, let me see who else on here. Deb, yes, hey. Aw. Bob, Dave, good to see you. Who else is on here? Wow, Denise Molo, welcome. Welcome, guys. Okay, not very many announcements. We are, okay, I don't know what you're saying. What about, Deb? But I guess I'll find out. Yeah, not very many announcements because all the festivals are done. I have a camp out. It's a private camp out. Not really camp out. It's an investigation that I'll be going on probably in another 2 weeks or so. It just depends on meeting up with a fellow researcher up in Canada, and he'll be coming down. We'll be going into the Allegheny National Forest. Hey, Jeff. Good to see you. And this is a really active area, very, very active area. The Bigfoot were getting a little aggressive the last time we were there. Okay, Deb, you were having a conversation with Audra. Okay, well, okay. We'll tell Audra to get in here also. She can join in on the chat. But that's not for another couple weeks, and should be interesting. We're getting things lined up for next year, different festivals, getting them on my schedule. I missed out on the sign up for the Forest County Bigfoot Festival, so I'm hoping, really hoping, that another friend will be in there and I can share their space. Right now, it's about the only thing I can do, unless I write them and be a backup vendor, unless they open up more room. But that Forest County Bigfoot Festival is outstanding. Let me see what else is going on. Oh yes, I had spoken with a couple people and kind of hinted. Let me see, when was it? Monday afternoon. I may possibly have seen our local Bigfoot. I'm not certain. Let me describe what I saw. Back whenever we moved in here, we we had newly moved in. It was May 2017, and I was sitting out on my brand new front porch, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the view of the field across from me. There's a field and woods on the other side. And as I was sitting there, some deer came out of the woods and trotted down the hill right along the tree line. And then they, at the bottom of the hill, they cut back in onto a game trail at the bottom and disappeared from my view. Well, behind them came a tall, brownish gray, grayish brown Bigfoot. This one was a very lean. He had an athletic type build. He wasn't big and bulky like the other ones that I had seen. This one was leaner, but he was still very tall. He's about 8 foot tall, thereabouts. And I saw him walking down the hill behind the deer. And then he cut in behind the deer. Now, this was back in 2017. Monday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, I had let my dog outside so she could do her business. And, I'm out on the front porch, just keeping an eye on her. And I see movement at the top of the hill, in the field across from me. There was a big buck up there that I've been keeping an eye on. Hey, Michael. And I've seen him up there a few times. I guess he hangs around up there. Big buck. And I saw him burst out of the woods, run down the hill. I mean, he was in a panic and running down that hill and cutting into the game trail at the bottom. In the meantime, the neighbor's dog spotted him and was barking at him. But he was on the other side of the fence, so the dog didn't chase him. And up top the hill, in the trees, nothing came out, but it was still in the trees, in the woods. But it was near the edge of the tree line, so I could still see a shape. I saw something very much larger than the buck, and came rushing down through the woods. I mean, rushing down. And this thing was very tall, much larger again than the buck. And just rushing down through those woods after that deer. I didn't see anything. I couldn't make out a figure. I couldn't make out a shape or form or anything like that, just that it was taller. And all I saw was just a black shape in the woods, at the edge of the woods. And here I am, just chasing after the deer. Whether or not it was the same Bigfoot or if it was a Bigfoot, I don't know. All I can say is it was an unusual occurrence. And, just something that I put down, in my notes as a data point. I try to keep note of everything that happens, size, time of day, etc. It's all data. We learn from the data. What happens. I try to write it down immediately, and that way I have something to compare other things that happen in the area as to behavior, etc. So that was my adventure, I guess you could say, on Monday. Let me see. Trying to go over my notes, see anything else that went on. Yeah, everyone, I'm tired. Also, I see Michael. Yeah, a wee bit tired. Same here. Yeah, I got about 4 hours of sleep last night. Well, this morning. And I still woke up around 6:30, something like that. I fell asleep. I was chatting with a friend out in Australia, and I fell asleep in the middle of the chat. And but this was around 3 a.m. I think, whenever I finally fell asleep, and woke up about 6:30. So 3.5 hours of sleep, not enough. So I may fizzle out. I'll keep it fairly reasonable tonight, and try to wind things down about 9 o'clock or so, quarter after. But I hope everybody's doing okay. And all right, tell you what, I think that's enough. Let me introduce again our guest this evening. We have Terry Ronzio and his sister Gina. They are joining. Oh my God, taking a page out of Jeff Yarrington's playbook. Oh God. Yeah, right. Yes, Terry Ronzio and his sister Gina. They're joining us. Terry runs a page called the ADHD Historian, and the Our Secret Nerd Base. So if I know quite a few people are more familiar, I think, with the Secret Nerd Base page and podcast, apparently. And I'm sorry I wasn't familiar with that whenever the podcast was going, but sounds fun. So tell you what, I'm going to bring Terry and Gina on. Welcome.
Hi, Mary.
Hi,
Hi.
Mary.
Hi, Gina.
Thanks for having us on.
Oh, you're welcome. Now I told Terry that I pretty much will just hand the show over to you guys and let you run with it. Whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever you want to share. Uh, I am just so interested in all the adventures, everything that you guys, have experienced and are into. So please share.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
You might regret that later because we talk a lot. We're always sharing stories and experiences, and there is there's a lot that we have experienced together. We're not that far apart, a little over a year apart, so we really experienced a lot of things together growing up. We have two younger brothers. I always say that Terry and I were great, and then they had to go and ruin it 10 years when I was 10 and he was 11 with having two more kids. But now that's just teasing. So we have two younger brothers, which are now in their, gosh, almost 50. So
No.
just tells you how old we are. But our experience started quite young. We grew up in a haunted house, and so it wasn't from us just becoming paranormal investigators. It is that we had to learn to adapt to what existed in our home and become sensitive to the energies that were there. If it was just one energy, it might have been easier, but there was multiple, with multiple different, I'm going to say personalities. Some were more aggressive. Others were, easy. You didn't get fearful of them. And they all almost had different talents. Wouldn't you say, Terry?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely it was an adventure,
Yes,
and we were as I shared with you guys the last time. Well, the first time I talked about mom and dad. We mom and dad said, okay, we got ghosts, but you guys can't talk about it outside this house.
correct.
So we couldn't talk about it. But now we live in exciting times when people have been opened up to the supernatural world, and so it's exciting that we can bring these stories to you. And I was telling Gina before the show, it's like I didn't get to cover the house, and I think we should cover the house a lot because, like it's like Gina just explained, that's where we got the roots of being very young supernatural investigators.
Yes.
Yeah, very-
Wasn't even our choice.
no,
We had
we
to
were
be.
thrown in the soup,
Yes,
so we became the soup.
we did.
Yes.
And I think one of the earliest experiences of my memory was, well, I think the one that really made it very real for us, we'll say that, is Terry woke up in the middle of the night with a little boy standing at the end of his bed, just staring at him. And do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating story, which leads to two different ways that I've discovered through my own experiences of how they vanish. So it was after football practice. My aunt was there with her little ones, and I was tired. I just went. I was like, I didn't feel like hanging out with these kids, and it was just long practice. So I went upstairs, got a bath, and went to bed. So I woke up to this, like Gina said, the little boy was standing at the bottom of my bed. I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing in my room? I'm trying to sleep. I got to go to school in the morning. And the little boy looked at me, and then I could see that I could see through him. It wasn't Jeff. And he
Wow.
was carrying this box. So I didn't know. It was like, and so I'm like, so I was like, and so he just starts walking towards the doorway. So when he walked towards the door, when he went into the doorway, when he vanished, all these really bright lights, if you imagine looking at one of those old books where they had cutout dolls and they had the black lines to cut around the cutout. But now what happened? It was a cutout doll when he went through the doorway, but they were really bright lights of the lights we have now.
LEDs.
Yeah, it was that's how bright it was. It was before LED lights, so that's how bright it was. LED lights all the way around him like a cutout doll, and then he was gone. So that was a way he vanished uh, through the doorway. So later on at the house, I'm going to tell you another story about the LED situation. Okay, my grandmother died. Now Gina and I will tell you a story about how we know it's my grandma. But first, I'm going to tell you, me and my sisters were playing in this room, and there was a knock on the window, and the ghost was waving to us. And when we were looking through the portal, basically through the window, it was once again LED lights of, and then it was gone. So like I can't explain. So just my through going back to my mind, thinking about this for all my life about these two experiences. For some reason, when you're looking, that going through a doorway, ghosts will vanish and have those bright lights. But also when they're looking through a window at you. So that's. But let's tell her about the grandma experience when Grandma Betty, we were upstairs putting that,
Carpet in?
yeah, the carpet. It's the same night.
Yes.
Yeah, so that this is later that night. So this is during the day this happened. Gina, you can start with that story.
Okay, and I think it's why the little boy in Terry's room stands out so much is because a lot of the a lot of the other experiences that we had in the house, they weren't necessarily visual. They weren't the things that we actually saw with our eyes. They were things that moved or things that happened or you know, they were more like that. These were actually seeing, and it's different experience within you when you actually see a spirit, when you actually see a ghost. It creates almost a tattoo in your memory. It just does not go away. And so those two stand out. But with Terry and I, we were the only one that saw my grandmother through the window. And like he said, her outline where she disappeared left an imprint in the atmosphere almost that looked like it was outlined in an LED lights, which of course we didn't have in the 70s. But later on that evening,
No, it was in the beginning of the day.
okay,
That was later in the evening when
with grandma
the
waving.
grandma was on the porch waving at us through the on the porch.
And we were young. Terry's, like I said, a little older than me. I think I was 7 and 8 at
We
that
were
time.
putting in the shag rug up. Yeah, shag rugs. Remember those guys?
That's
We were putting the shag carpet.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
tells how old we are.
yeah.
Yes, my father, to cheer my mother up, because this is her mother that passed away, our grandmother. Um, he said, you know what, buy all new carpet for the bedrooms. So we were upstairs, and Terry and I were just playing, and my mother was putting down this carpet. Believe it or not, she had a knife to cut the carpet with, because we did everything ourselves. And she went to cut the carpet, and my other grandmother happened to be there also. And we heard a very loud yell from the bottom of the steps where she yelled my mother's name. We heard this, Lillian, like almost yelling at her, not necessarily yelling for her. My other grandmother that was there actually walked down the steps to the front door. She had forgotten my grandmother Betty had passed away. And so we all heard my grandmother calling my mother's name, everybody that was in that room. And it was I think, a very important time for all of us there, for so many people to experience the exact same paranormal experience at the same time. Children, our mother, and our other grandmother, her name was Verna, who absolutely did not. I think she believed things, but she would never ever say out loud she believed them. I think we all know people like that.
Yeah.
For her to actually go to the door to let my dead grandmother in was shocking for her. She never forgot it. And I feel like the adults' reaction to it, because my mother immediately began,
Janie was there too. I remember Janie crying.
Janie and Mom were both
Yeah,
crying.
they were both crying because Grandma just, I don't know how long, not too long.
No,
Yeah,
no, it was only a couple weeks.
yeah.
Um, so those experiences stand out. But again, like Terry said, how the form disappears when a visual form disappears, were both the exact same way, even though it was two different times, two different experiences with two separate spirits.
So here's another way. Like I said, I wanted to tell you and I never got to talk to you guys about this. The vanishing point, as I call it. So here's another way. That Mom. This is Mom sighting. We had a dog named Sheba, and Mom and Dad were in her their bedroom, which was downstairs, and so she was awoken in the middle of the night by the dog. Sheba started barking, and she felt the bed. Uh, they had a water bed. Once again, go back in time, right? So she felt the water bed move, and she looked up and she said, she said the boy was so pretty that it could have been a girl. And she said something about, who are you? And then and then the boy had his finger up to his lips, pointing at the dog,
Like telling the dog to be
telling the
quiet.
dog to be quiet. He didn't want mom and dad to wake up. And so then when mom was talking to the boy, he vanished from the feet up, and the last thing you could see was his eyes.
Oh,
So once again, that's one time of the, but it now flash to me in the future. I was up at Indiana University of Pennsylvania Punxsutawney branch campus, and I was awakened by a ghost. I didn't know it was a ghost. Once again, uh, he was tall and he had a leather jacket on, and he reminded me of my friend that lived downstairs. I'm like, Dave, how'd you get in my room? And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I'm like, that's not Dave. And he disappeared. He disappeared from the feet up, and the last thing I saw was his eyes. So there's two examples from just you know in our family. I found out two ways they disappear, and I think that's pretty interesting. So
It is.
yeah,
wow.
I know Terry has had a lot more visual experiences than I have,
even cryptids.
and even
Yeah,
cryptids.
I talked about the Mothman last
Yes,
show, and I talked about the Goat Man.
yes.
And if people want to hear those stories again, let us know. Always happy to talk about them because, man, like Gina said, that once things happen to you, and I even saw the Thunderbird. Remember, we were that was one of the last things we were talking about on one of the shows, Mary. And what was so interesting, I was with my friend. We were just going for dinner. We're out by the Collinsville Airport, and all of a sudden this plane appeared. Remember, I was telling you how the Thunderbird was as big as one of those small planes.
Yeah.
A plane appeared, like, and then went back over in the trees. And I said, I was looked at my buddy Joe, and like, I was just telling the people on the podcast about how fast it was. The Thunderbird. I saw a Thunderbird, and then he was gone. And it was weird that a plane did that to us. But it was landing at the airport, of course. But it was really weird how it came out of nowhere and went back behind the trees. And that's
Wow.
kind of how the Thunderbird happened. It's like I was on Route 21 back in. I have it written down. I'll tell you guys in a little bit what the date was. But it appeared so fast, and then it was gone because the situation of where I was on the road out there on 21 around McClellan Town, where that dump is. There's like a row of trees on each side. So by the way it just went across, there was no way I could watch it go fly off in the distance. So I didn't know how fast it was going, but it was just appeared. So just being at the right place at the right time for
Yeah.
that was just amazing. But I thought it was weird right after I talked about the Thunderbird. I saw a plane do what the Thunderbird did.
Yeah,
So
that's something. Yeah, because last week's show, we had a Thunderbird report. Uh, this one was up in New York State, though, just maybe a few weeks ago. Yeah, so here you are bringing up your sighting.
yeah, it was in 2017. I was looking on my flyer that I have, like, when I do my talks, and when I taught at the school. I had a class for a lot of we had a lot of classes,
Yeah.
and I taught where to point your camera with the when you're out ghost hunting, and I talk, and so I have this. You have the handout too, Mary, of all the things I could talk about.
Yep.
Hmm.
But so yeah, we'll get back to the haunted house. Another interesting thing I was telling Gina before the show. So I'm going to bring up an old name you haven't heard for a while, and then Gina she actually talks about it when she does her classes at the school. The Dr. Lillian Ronzio School of Holistic Health. It's on Facebook. Check it out. But the I said Tiny Boots. Remember that cat? She's like, yeah. And she actually, and she'll tell you her story, which I find pretty interesting because I think it has a lot to do. with the cat even being, we were really close to this cat. It was a weird cat. Didn't it like disappear and then come back and disappear, come back? It kept coming back. Is that the cat that kept coming back? I don't know.
No, that was Madam.
Oh, okay. There we had this cat. We thought it was gone, and like 2 months later, it's back. Yeah, that was Madam. Okay. But anyways, I was we have a ghost cat there, and I one day I was in a room with the door shut, and I was reading, and all of a sudden these paws came under the door and started clawing at the rug. Like scared the heck out of me. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Like, what the heck? I don't have a cat. So I had to think back to the cats, and it was Tiny Boots because it had we called it Tiny Boots because it had like paw the white the paws were white, and but she was a black cat.
She's
So,
an all black cat.
all black with white paws. It was a
Yes.
really unique cat. So yeah, then Gina had to tell me her story. And I think that's interesting.
So Terry literally saw and the cat's feet.
Yeah, and I don't have any cats. When I was yeah, that's how it wasn't there. The cat was gone.
Anybody that has cats, you know, they can be very annoying in the middle of the night when they went in or out somewhere. I've always been a cat person. And
Attention.
what?
They
Attention.
like attention.
I have a special place. I'm a cat person, so
Me too. I like when they're looking inside the window when it's cold outside. Hi, little kitty, you like it outside? Sorry.
and I like to bring them in and cuddle them. Yeah, so
Get out, cat, go in the garage where I have hay.
Terry and I are very yin yang, you know. So we're make a really good pair, but we're very opposite on a lot of different things. And I told him, you know, it's very interesting, and my spiritual side is I feel that every encounter with everything is to teach us something, is something for a learning experience and something to pull from it. And so you know, Terry's a lot like my father. We were talking earlier with my father is very into science fiction, and we always went on hunting Bigfoot, and we had experiences early on with UFOs. And so my father would take us out truly going to find and hunt UFOs, which we've had experiences with those too. So we're very blessed to have grown up with parents who were not just open minded, but had their own experiences. And we were allowed to speak about it within the family unit. But with me, we all tend to go in different directions. And again, I don't think that's an accident. The people we're put with or where we're drawn. So I am more a feeler. Even my experiences with the ghosts, I made a deal with them early on in the house. And there was one that used to come over to my bed and play with my hair. I've always had long hair, and I would hear them walk to the bed, um, and they would just kind of pick my hair up and let it drop, pick my hair up and let it drop. And I would say to them out loud all the time, I don't care if you're here. I don't like it if you scare me. You can touch me, but I never want to see you. And that's what I used to tell them all the time. I don't want to see you. Everybody else in my family could visually see them. We made a deal. And even to this day, I'm a feeler. I will feel a change in energy, in a heartbeat. But I'm to this day like, nah, I really don't care to like see you. It makes it a little too real. And I think because those first experiences that we did have um, was such an emotional experiences that I'm like, let me just feel you. That's my way of communicating. Terry's a hands-on touch, feel, throw it down, kick it around type of person. I'm just like, oh, let me pet the kitty. You know what I mean? Oh, so I'm more the feeler person, and he's let me experience it. And, so we made this wonderful deal. I did with the spirits that existed in our house. It doesn't mean they didn't some of the personalities didn't torture us in their own special ways, but
Yeah, the one. Do you think it was the lady ghost? We have the woman ghost has been seen. I never saw the lady ghost. Um, my brother saw the lady ghost. Uh, she has a pink dress. Now, my brother saw the lady ghost when I was married to my first wife. They were looking through the
the front door.
front door, but you could see through the front door, but you can't see. It was one of those. It was a window, but it had glaze all over it, so you can see people inside, but you couldn't tell they had the pink dress. In other words, they couldn't tell this was the lady in the pink dress sitting beside my daughter who was taking a nap. And,
Actually, that was me.
no,
Yeah, it was me.
it was you.
Yeah, I came down. Yeah,
Oh, that was
and
you
I,
that did it.
yes, I honestly, sorry, we're talking actually to each other now.
I knew it was
That,
one of the
yeah, I forgot
siblings.
about that. That's the only time I did, and I think it's because I was on the outside of the house and we weren't in the same area. I went down to, I was knocking on your door. I saw his daughter Brittany, who was about 2 at the time, I think, sleeping on the couch, and I saw a lady sitting next to her by her head, kind of rubbing her hair.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, well, his mother-in-law must be visiting.
Yeah,
And
she thought that was my mother-in-law, which would my mother-in-law wouldn't open the door.
right, well, so
Sorry.
I knocked on the door, saw my niece and they're sleeping, saw the lady sitting next to her, but again, you couldn't make out details. You could make out an image, like looking through the old, like the windows we had in the old bathrooms. You know how we used to put that film, the sticky film on, so you couldn't see straight through.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. So you could see the image, but you couldn't really make out details. And I knocked again, and his ex-wife came out of the blue and like opened the door real fast and said, "Be quiet, Brittany's sleeping." And I'm like, you know, I walked in and I'm like, "Where's your mom?" And she's like, "It's just me." I said, "Well, who was the lady on the couch?"
Wow.
Um,
I thought it was Sean and Shane. So I'm sorry.
no,
I
that's
feel
okay.
bad.
No, Terry.
I gotta change. I gotta change
Oh
the
no,
writings.
you have to change this whole book
Scratch.
now.
Yeah, scratch. It wasn't Gina.
Just put down
It
a.
wasn't Sean and Shane.
Just put down a sibling.
Yeah,
A
sibling.
sibling.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
it all covered. Um, so yeah, but there was a lot of experiences. That was the lady who was in the house, the one that was kind to me, who I think that was always played with
So
my hair,
that's what I thought. You thought it was the lady playing with your
because
hair.
it's a very comforting feeling. It did, you know, you could tell it was a soft touch, and it it, it was a mothering touch, or a kind touch. Um, Not like the basement person, whoever's in the basement. We had a basement spirit, was not there all the time. Um, that one, I don't know who that was. I don't know if there was ever been an identity connected to that one, like we've identified who it was. But we used to, our laundry was in the basement, and sometimes we would keep like our dogs down there when it got really cold outside. But when we were young, I would open up the basement door and I would just kind of feel the energy. Now I'm talking about 13, 14, 15, about that age, because our brothers were small. And if it felt like the basement felt mean, and that's the only way I can describe it for everybody to understand it,
Yeah.
um, I would call Terry to wait at the top of the steps, because the light switch for down in the basement was at the top of the steps. And so many times, if I would feel that energy and Terry wasn't around, or somebody wasn't around to stand at the top of the steps, I would turn on the light. I would go down to get the laundry out of either the washer or dryer, or put laundry in. And as soon as I would get into it, I would hear click, and they would turn the light out.
Happened
Oh,
all
That
the time.
and that basement was not a fun place to be to be stuck in the dark. And of course, once those lights are out, and we all know, we've all done some types of investigations for something, when it is pitch dark, it's a whole different feeling than when it's, light.
Yeah, that basement was when the lights were out. It felt like you were like buried.
You're swallowed up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it would happen multiple times. So if Terry was there and I'd feel the energy and I could feel that whoever, I can't even identify it because it did not feel like the other spirits in the house, the playful ones.
makes sense. Yeah, I always. I'm glad you brought that up because we. I talked about, and that's I once again back to what I taught. Where to teach you, where to point your camera uh, when you're out, go out ghost hunting, because the exciting thing now is it's not like the old days where you had 24 pictures. Now
Right. Right.
you can shoot away, and then until that one gets drained by the ghost, get your other thing out. Sure, So, but anyways, we've actually filmed the basement ghost.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law, which wasn't he was my brother-in-law at the time. Maybe, well, ex-brother-in-law, but still a brother. So, but anyways, his name's Troy. We made him go in the basement.
Nobody liked Troy.
Yeah,
No,
he was
just kidding.
going down with the camera. Okay, so when he was down there, he's like, "I'm going down. I feel her. I feel her." And then uh, he grew up with my brothers in
Yeah.
this crazy ghost house, so he's really in tune with everything.
Right.
I feel her. I feel, because we all thought it was the lady with the pink dress, because.
Right.
But so I'm glad you brought it up, because it is another
It's
ghost.
a whole
Yeah,
other
it is another ghost.
entity.
But anyways, so so on film we caught this. We got it all on film, and my brother was actually going to the art institute, took the video to his teacher, and that teacher said that's a ghost. Well, Troy goes, I feel her. Oh, she went right through me. So when that you can see the otherworldly light, when he said, I feel her," and you can see when it goes through him, it went through him
On film.
on film. Yeah, and we can't find the darn film. It's crazy, right?
But yeah, that's the spirit in the basement was very, not always there, or maybe not always awake. I don't know what their time, if they have watches or alarm clocks or whatever, but, sometimes it was completely safe, but when it was not, they were not polite or nice. They like to antagonize. They really like to, maybe feed off of your fear. So I think it was a whole different type of entity or spirit form. Even um, when, as we all grew up in different phases of our life, I think we all occupied our home place at different times in our lives. And I actually lived there um, many years ago with my husband, and one of our older dog, we kept her in the basement all the time because we had a nice little bed set up for her, but she didn't do steps very well, and there was a place down there that she could go in and out. Anyway, I had worked all day. Long story short, I said, would you please take the food down to Sheba? um, he wouldn't go to the basement, you know but anyway, he didn't like to go down there. It felt weird to him, although he didn't really believe what I told him. He did take the food down to the basement, and it wasn't a second later he reappeared at the top of the steps with the food in his hand, and I was like, what's wrong? And I looked at him, and honestly, he looked like I could see through him. That's how pale he was.
Oh, wow.
He said, I got halfway down and somebody screamed in my ear, get out.
Oh,
Um, and I'm going to leave out a lot of personal details, but I will say that we weren't exactly a happy couple at the time, but so as menacing as that entity or spirit was, if it was the same one who yelled at him, it really changed who he was. And it changed everything, really, because he looked at me with a whole different, oh, you're not really crazy. I can't call you that anymore because I had my own experience. Um, but he did not want to be in that home anymore. It was not like a, oh, are you leaving? No, it was a, like, get out. Um,
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like that movie.
yes. Yes. Yeah.
It's
So,
interesting.
so that's a little bit, Mary, do you have any, like, do you have any questions? You want to lead us somewhere? Because honestly, we could honestly sit here for hours and hours and talk about
Just that house.
just the house.
Well, let me
I
see.
can go ahead, Mary.
I'm trying to see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, good idea.
And yeah, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, and I'll put them up here on the screen and ask them. But right now, so far, there's no questions. So please continue.
I'm going to bring up a topic that will lead us to another topic, which was another ghost that got added to the house. So the first topic was really interesting. I was playing with my soldiers underneath the porch, and I was having a great war, and I was like, yeah, I was always playing with soldiers and stuff, but all of a sudden the dirt just moved away, like someone was digging at the dirt,
Oh,
and they uncovered a gold ring. And I held on to that gold ring for a very long time. I've lost it in my travels, going all over the place.
oh,
But yeah, it gave me a ring, and it was on the ring. It was Jeep, and the people who lived there before us were Golden Shoes.
huh.
So that was I found very interesting. But now I'm going to tell you another ring story, which I'm going to hand the ball off to Gina first because it's about a haunted painting. So hang on, this is a great story, and we still have the painting in our family, and people always want to see it and they want to take pictures of it. We won't let them. Well, Shane won't let them take a picture of it because, it's a great story. Go ahead, Gina.
Um, okay. When my mother first opened her herb store, it was in downtown Connellsville, Pennsylvania. Well, we're all from PA. Well, a lot of us are, some of us are not. And I was in high school and I used to walk after school, from the school down to my mother's store. So I would either, help her out at the store or help her out with the kids. And one day, as I was walking, they had opened an antique store right around the corner from my mother's store. And I would walk up and down past the store a lot. But one day I just, all of a sudden, it was like I put brakes on and looked over, and there was this beautiful painting, and it is of a little girl. And do you remember, or I'm sure you have seen, the old photographs that they had painted over? They painted over it to make it look in color. So they were
Yeah,
like a black and white photo, and then they painted it to make it look like a painting.
yeah.
And I believe that that's what this is, even though it's on canvas. I just came down to a dead stop, and I'm like, I know that little girl, and she's just standing in the picture. Kind of looks like, if anybody ever watched Fried Green Tomatoes. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah,
Fried Green Tomatoes. Do you remember the
Yes.
sister that was up in the tree who wouldn't come down for the wedding, and they made her wear a dress? This is kind of what the little girl looked like. It looked like the parents had, like, made her stand there, and and threw this dress on her, and she wanted to go outside and play. It's like her hair was kind of, is very, very long, like clear down to her waist, but she did not look happy. But I fell in love with her. And the picture's about 2.5 foot tall. Um, when I went around the corner, when I went to work that day, I told my mother I decided what I wanted for my graduation present. I want that painting that's in that window. And she was like, you know, what a weird thing for a 17-year-old to want, but I'm never been like a normal kid. So I'm like, no, I feel that. I think that's my little girl. And I brought it up to her a few times. Then one day it was gone. Fast forward graduation day, somebody else bought the painting. I didn't get my painting. No big deal. Now we're fast forwarding about 5 years. I'm getting married, right? I you have to go see the priest, for the premarital, the priest has to talk to you 300 times to make sure that you understand what you're doing. Never met the priest before. I walked into his office, and on his wall is my little girl.
Oh,
And that's what I said to him. I walked in. He said, I'm Father Stephen. And I looked right past him and I said, and that's my little girl. And he turned around where I was pointing. He said, no, that's my little girl. Now, I will tell you about me and this priest. I'm not the tallest person in the world. 4'11". This priest was probably 3 inches taller than me. Not tall. And we look very, very similar, which again, something very odd. But this priest was also an artist. He had sold his own paintings to get the money to buy this little girl that he saw in the window of his antique shop. Weird story, right? When I got married, he gave her to me as a wedding gift.
oh my goodness.
Isn't that beautiful? He
Oh,
actually passed away about 2 years after that from a liver disease. But there are, again, that's why I believe every experience you have, every meeting you have, everything you feel, there's a reason. We have to, if we don't act on it, we have to remember it. We have to understand that they all have meaning. So I brought her home, got married, left her in my bedroom because then I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and Terry moved into my bedroom. So this is where the story picks up. By the way, nobody liked that picture except me. I was the only one that loved this painting. It's beautiful to look at. It's very unusual, but I mean, I fell in love with her, and everybody else was like, there's the girl in the picture. So I moved to Phoenix. Terry moved into my bedroom because it had a door on it because I was the only girl. So freedom, it's a great thing with that girl thing. So Terry.
So yeah, this is after I left college, and like Gina said, Sean got my room.
Mhm.
Shane had Gina's old room, but that was a long time ago. But Gina ended up with mom and dad's room. Like
We
you
all
said
move. We
before.
all it's
Yeah, the
single
rotating
rooms.
rooms, right? So Gina's away and married, and I get her room with the girl.
On the wall.
Yeah.
The picture.
Now this picture is this. It's I don't know if you get if you think about it. If you think about Hogwarts and the school and all those paintings that go up the steps, that's just
yep.
it's this girl fits right in with that movie.
She actually does.
Because yeah, she does.
Yeah.
It's Hogwarts. It's definitely because she moves. I mean, sure, her expression. I see. I like the little girl now.
Now.
Yeah, I talk to her every day, but
That
because
is
yeah,
true. Because when I did bring her home, that everybody notices when you actually speak to her, her cheeks get rosy and she
yeah,
smiles.
her expression's always different. Never the
Always.
same expression. It's an
Really?
amazing, amazing picture. But anyway, so one night in the early morning, when ghosts like to bother Terry and wake him up, I wake up and there she is, out of the painting, staring at me at the bottom of my bed. You got to be kidding me! And Gina found out today she didn't know one of my secret weapons with ghosts is I throw pillows at them. Leave me alone. But I just rolled over. I couldn't believe the ghost, the painting girl. There's it. Yeah, I was like, so in the morning I woke up and I ran to the front of my bed and like, what the heck? I looked at the picture and And there was a long hair. I should have kept that hair. That was a clue for me to actually keep that, investigate. But I didn't. I wasn't thinking about ghost investigations back then.
Yeah.
But I had just broken up with my fiance from I was engaged to be married to my college sweetheart, and we broke up, and she gave me the ring back. So a couple days after the ghost was there, I discovered my ring was gone. That Judy's ring, and I'm like, where's her ring? And I'm like, so I'm like playing private eye, like with the family, and the main suspect was my cousin Jeff, once again, who I thought Jeff was the same Jeff, was grown up now. He's juvenile from California. We took him in. He was so I was like, Jeff, yeah, I know you stole the ring. I didn't steal the ring. I was like, well, someone did, and it had to be, it wasn't me. But anyway, so so I wake up like a week later, and there she is again over by my dresser. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I wake up in the middle of the morning. I wake up in the day, and in the morning, I run over and I look. I mean, I tore my dresser apart looking for this ring, and there it was laying on top of my clothes. So like that night, I got a call from Judy, and she said, "I'm getting married, Terry. I wanted to let you know." So the ghost was trying to tell me that Judy was going to get married her way.
Wow.
Yeah. so, haunted paintings. It's real.
We still have her. She
Yeah.
does hang in my mother's business
Yeah.
over
Really?
at the Natural Way on 119. So, yeah, many people, there's so many people that when I was younger, I used to see a lot of clients up in that room. We ended up actually turning the desk or the chairs where they sat away from where they wouldn't see the picture, because many would say, could you please move the picture? Or I don't want to go into the room with the picture, who didn't even know about her. They she bothered them.
Oh,
It definitely has an energy. And
now
And we
what's
gave her
what's
a
the name of
horse.
the store again?
What's that? Oh,
What?
it's called the Natural Way on Route 119 in Connellsville. That's Mom's been in business for almost 50 years now,
Okay.
and that's the family business. Hey! You can find me there. I take care of this. I hang out at the store Mondays, Tuesdays, and Saturdays, and Shane's there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So yeah, that's the yeah. But Shane says, well, how did she end up getting the horse to make her settle down? We have like a little horse for little kids to sit on, and it ended up being her horse.
Uh,
You know the story behind the
I
horse?
don't.
Go ahead.
Do you have any questions, or
Yeah, did
do
anybody have any questions
you
about
want
all
to,
this crazy stuff here?
Mary? Did you want to say?
trying to see if there's any questions. Well, um, Hillary made a comment that she says looks like a Bigfoot peeking behind me in the in the camera. I have a wood cutout of a Bigfoot, and it's standing up against the wall. But
I love those cutouts.
yeah, yeah, no questions so far. But guys, yeah, if you have any questions,
Hey, we're not
go ahead,
boring you,
type
are
them in.
we?
Yeah,
Pardon me?
everybody okay? You want us to move on to other stories besides the haunted house and ghosts?
Yeah, go on to something cryptid.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell the story about the goat man,
Okay.
uh, which I find very interesting. I know you have people who listen to the show uh, that have experience. They specialize in goat man or something. They're from Maryland or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jeff
I,
Yarrington, he's in
yeah,
here.
he's not
Um,
here today.
yeah, he's in there.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'll tell the story again. It's a real fascinating story. I was going to chef school when I was a chef up at Seven Springs. They were actually paying for me to go to chef school, which was really cool. So I lived at a place called the Alpine Lodge, and this is a very interesting road, uh, Mary. It, I think you guys investigated the park up in Trent. Didn't you guys investigate up near there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's and actually one of the girls who it's our friend, and she's in with our research group that to go around investigating ghosts and everything. She actually lives right near Trent now. So yeah, so I tell her, you're right where I saw the Mothman. so, I'll tell the Mothman after this. So there I was. We were coming back from night school, and me and my buddy Donnie, and so I'm like, uh, "Hey Donnie, slow down. There's like a big dead deer in the middle of the road because there's like a big hump." And then so he slowed down, and our headlights was on, and so the hump stood up. So it was basically the goat man. I didn't know that the goat man even existed, but everything you've read about goat man, this guy was right in front of us. And like I even said on the last show about, I thought he the thing he had in his hand was basically part of the deer. But the more I think about it, and the more I've read about goat man, that he carries basically an axe, I think is what Jeff said last time. Uh, but he was basically cutting pieces of the dead deer up. So there he was in our headlights, and then when he jumped to the side of the road, it was like about 10, 15 feet. He landed on the side of the road where, like I said, we found those footprints later. But then, as he jumped through the field, it was like watching a kangaroo jump. And he jumped zigzag, like So if he was being shot at, he definitely would have a hard time shooting at him.
Yeah.
So
Makes.
which might have happened to him before.
Mm.
So we ran up, and me and Donnie ran in, and he said, "I'm going to go get my weapons." And he's like, we had everything but a gun. So we had like BB guns and slingshots and machetes. We're going after Goat Man, which we didn't know it was Goat Man at the time until, because this was way back in the, I don't know if I wrote down the date or not, but it was back in the 90s, I believe. I was in school. Well, it's weird how time just keeps flying by, right, guys? But anyways, so flash back to the other story, the other cryptid story I have about County Line Road. There, the same road, but further, it's past Seven Springs. My mother-in-law, which we were just talking about, Gina thought was my mother-in-law sitting on the couch. This is when me and my wife lived at the Alpine Lodge again, once again, and so we were with my mother-in-law, and it was a stormy night, and she lived at a trailer park that's down the road. It's right after you pass Seven Springs golf course. You go down the road about a couple miles, and there's a church that sits on the right, and there's like a road that goes down. That's all Seven Springs employees living. That whole trailer park was part of their, basically, people who worked at Seven Springs were there. So Marcy lived there, but she wanted me and my wife to go get a Coke out of the pop machine in the middle of a severe thunderstorm. I'm like, you kidding me? You want us to go get a Coke? She's like, I want Coke. So okay, so my ex-wife was like Mary Andretti, I always call her, and we're like flying around the corners, lightning's flashing, the rain's flying, it's like a severe thunderstorm. So we're going around this one corner, the lightning flashes, and of course our headlights are on, and there was the Mothman. I mean, you can't. I mean, the big red eyes, but he didn't have his wings out. He had his wings down, like he's just standing there, like he wanted to fly. But we caught him at the right moment to just see him standing there, and then so when we get down to Trent at the store where the Coke machine is, she said, "You get out, you go get the Coke." It's like, okay.
Gee,
So when
thanks.
we were driving back and we were almost to her mom's house, I was like, "Did you saw that?" I said, "Yeah, it was the Mothman." My dad always used to tell us about Mothman with the big red eyes, and
Yeah.
and he he always appears, and he doesn't always appear, but he's been reported to appear during thunderstorms. So
Yeah.
Dad would always tell us that. And I don't know. I think I told you guys in the last show too, which I found interesting. When back to the house in Dawson, when we first moved there, uh, I was out in the yard playing, and my mom was looking out the window watching me play and stuff. And I became very startled, and I ran into the house, and I was screaming. And she's like, "What's wrong?" She said that I told her I saw a big flying man with big red eyes. So I saw him when I was little, but that memory is blocked out of my mother had to remind me of that story that
Wow.
I saw him. So I kind of like blocked it from my memory from when I was little.
So you've seen it twice then.
Twice, yeah, the Mothman.
Oh my goodness. Now I wonder, because they usually associate sightings of the Mothman with a tragedy or something major like the bridge collapse. uh, you know, I know that nothing happened in Dawson, but
Yeah, no, yeah, we didn't have a yeah. Yeah, I know. We were talking about that too, about the legends of yeah, how it's a bad something bad's supposed to happen when Mothman appears, but yeah,
yeah,
nothing I can think of.
thank God.
Yeah, yeah, really.
Yeah, no accidents up at Seven Springs.
Now, hey Mary, what's really interesting is I brought this up to you. I finally got to meet a guy who was speaking uh, at a he was speaking about Bigfoot, and it's Stan Gordon,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, I was telling him all this stuff that's. I finally get to talk to somebody about all this stuff that's happened to me, and all the ghosts in the house, and I saw the Mothman and the Goat Man. And he's like, first I have to stop you. He's like, have you seen flying saucers? I'm like, yeah. So I couldn't figure out why he just like so I don't. He said something about how people who experience the supernatural usually have been involved with aliens and UFOs and stuff. I thought that was really interesting. He brought that up, and Gina even said, "I'll let her tell you the story about the. I'll come back, but tell them the story about how Stan made us all draw. Our whole family, when we were real little, we saw UFO, and Stan came and got our testimonials and stuff. So I'll be right back.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, we were quite young actually, and we were all outside, and this was broad daylight. It wasn't nighttime, and Terry and I were just doing, I guess, what little kids do, playing in the yard. And my parents were also outside. We had just gotten a pool, and we weren't in the pool, so I don't know what we were doing. Again, we were very young, but my father, who again was always looking at the skies, he was fascinated with what was out there, and um, the possibilities of life on other planets. And he could tell you every star, and the all the Greek mythology behind, the stories behind how they got there. And he was a fascinating storyteller. He knew so much. And But he said, "What is that?" And I remember all of us looking up, and it was just sitting in the sky. Um, I couldn't tell you because I was so young how far away it was, but
Yeah.
it was just in broad daylight sitting in the sky and sat there for, again, don't remember how long.
Yeah.
And then instantly it took off. I mean, it was gone. It was like a blink of an eye and it just flew across the sky. And I remember my parents being very excited about what we had experienced. And again, because I was younger, I didn't grasp the importance of what we had all just experienced.
Right.
And I told Terry, remember a man came to our house and he took us in the room separately and made us draw pictures. That's what I remember because I like to draw. I'm like, oh, he's making me draw what I saw. This is fun. And Terry's like, that was Stan Gordon, Gina. I was like, oh my God. Many years later, who I wasn't even familiar with Stan Gordon, Terry, of course, always was.
Yeah.
He came and spoke at my school when I first opened. He talked about all his experiences, and I'm like, how fascinating. Again, the experience that I had with this man coming and making me draw a picture of what I saw in the sky is someone I came to have speak at this school, 40 years later.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so go ahead, Terry.
No, I was, yeah, I'm glad that, but yeah, we've experienced lots of UFOs, and once again, the Dawson House. I talked about it in the last show about how, uh, if you didn't catch it, I'm sorry you have to hear it again, but it's fascinating because, like me and Gina and I were both talking about, we've become basically investigators of
By
all this.
accident.
Yeah, but we really love it, and like as soon as all the dogs in Dawson would start barking in the middle of the night, I could run out onto the sidewalk and look towards where the racetrack is, and there would be a UFO in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
It was like they had the same pattern.
Yeah.
It, I don't know if I covered this story uh, about my wife and I and my brother Sean and my little baby Brittany were all driving to Pizza Hut one night. It was that I found it. I wrote it, so I wanted to read it real fast to you guys about it. Because it's really fascinating. My brother even drew a diagram when we got to Pizza Hut on the whole sighting. It's a really good job. I showed the drawing to Gina earlier, and she sent it to Sean. Hey, remember this? So yeah, so we were on the way to Pizza Hut. It was 7:58 in the evening. So I was telling Gina it had to be in the. I didn't write. It was in 1991. I have, I didn't have the date the last time I told you guys, and I knew they were in formation, but I couldn't remember how many UFOs they were in formation. But there were four UFOs, so there were four UFOs flying in formation, and I asked Sean. I was like, "Hey, Sean, I didn't know are jets allowed to fly in formation over area?" He's like, and then he said about how I don't think those are jets. I think those are flying saucers. So I was like, yeah, you're right. So so I got my wife to stop, and she's like, oh boy. So we're talking about she knows about the Mothman, she knows about the Goat Man, and here we are, yeah, we're running, chasing UFOs up through the field. Me and Sean, we're running. So we ran to the top of the field, and let's see, I want to read here. Stumbled out of the car. Okay, let's see. We're suddenly okay. Okay. So the UFO started to disappear over the hill, so we out of sight. So that's why me and Sean basically sprinted up the hill to get up there so we could see all four flying saucers. So when we get to the top of the hill, we see the one we were chasing, that was the last one. The other three had vanished over the top of the brim of the hill. We saw the one we were chasing, but two others are in. Let's see. Sorry, I probably lost the other page. In view of the one we chased. Okay, let's see. It moves away from us as another approaches. Okay, so they're basically circling up there now. So they're up there at the top, like out of sight from the road, far enough. You know what I mean? Far enough from the car, but they're just circling up there. And so there's no noise. And then all the UFOs have lights going around the ship in one direction, and I have it going basically as clockwise. The lights were going all around the ships, and I drew a little diagram on this paper. We noticed the third one that is just sitting above a clump of trees. It was just standing still. Is bigger than the one moving away, and the one approaching us. So yeah, one started to approach us. Then the one approaching us breaks formation, wait, uh, which was a large circle, and heads straight for us. So I'm like, "Hey, Sean, I think they see us." And right when I said that, that flying saucer, a bright light comes on and shines right at us, like, and then it goes back off, and then it does it again. I'm like, I think we better get out of here. So, so we start running back down the hill at a jog, and when we got like to the middle of the hill, there was a fence, and there was no way that we could have got through that fence. We sprinted up that hill. So I don't know if there's some kind of a portal, but you know what I mean. We definitely sprinted to the top of that hill, and we didn't jump a fence like Olympians.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
had to crawl underneath this barbed wire fence to get back down to the car.
It wasn't there when you ran
It
up.
wasn't. No, the fence wasn't there when we ran up to the top of the hill. So that's a really fascinating story. And that happened in 1991. And like I said, it was 7:58 in the evening. It was still daylight, so it had to be the summertime.
Now I wonder what the rock is on that hill. You know, quartz or limestone or granite, or what. Because sometimes that has a correlation.
With UFOs.
Yeah.
What city was this in?
That was between Scottsdale and Dawson, on the Scottsdale Dawson Road.
Then it could have been more limestone. That's more towards Connellsville. They have a lot of limestone.
It's the same path that they remember. I told you how I ran out of the house and I'd look up to the sky. That was the direction the flying saucers were always headed, along that road, the Scottsdale Dawson Road towards Scottsdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, they were. Yeah, it was a very hot spot for UFOs down there in Dawson along the
Yeah.
Allegheny. I thought maybe there's some kind of base, and then now that as I got into research and finding out about portals, it could be just a portal that came through. And I
Yeah.
don't know. Who knows? We'll never know.
Yeah, really, who knows? And it's possible, maybe there is a portal or a base or something, because that's also a Bigfoot hotspot.
In that same area.
Yeah.
Which is another fascinating thing is UFOs are always there's always a connection. People draw on the line, with UFOs and Bigfoot
Yeah.
being together.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of reports like that. I've never experienced them together. I have experienced both, but not together.
And another fascinating subject I know we talked about when I was talking about the mound builders. I brought to your attention about how Cochrane Cemetery is basically a mound.
Yeah.
And then I had you stop and think about Cochrane Cemetery, and it's definitely a mound. I know it is, and I know I know in that book Indian Places in Pennsylvania that I covered in my history talk, and it it uh it there was a mound, and I have it. I posted it actually. It's on. Oh yeah, go to the ADHD historian. There's a lot of fascinating ghost pictures I shared to the page for people to look at. A collection of ghost pictures I had the collection of. That's how I started that. It's called the Haunted Like page, and I basically use the files of the Haunted Like page to teach people on where to point the camera. And but I shared all kinds of interesting ghost pictures I had collected from a place called Photo Bucket back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I created the Haunted Like page, is for ghost research, to help people learn on where to point the camera. Yeah,
Okay.
but the back to the mound builders. They're when they and this is interesting too, because when they built the roundhouse of the railroad, the PNLE railroad across the river from the BN. There's two railroads. There was two railroads that ran by Dawson, and there was a little town called Dickerson Run,
Yep.
which was basically a railroad town.
Yep.
And when they were digging that roundhouse, my dad would always tell us the story about the giants that they uncovered when they dug up the roundhouse.
Wow.
And so then I was telling mom that story. She's like, "I'm the one that told your dad about that," because her godfather was there when they dug him up. So, and he always told that story. So I found that interesting. It even hit closer to home. I thought Dad just knew from history about
It's interesting. Well,
yeah,
the that's along the Yawk, and who knows? They
yeah, and
may have.
right there where they built there was a mound there. So it's in that book. It says there was a mound there. So so right there. So so they the giants were in the mound basically when they
Now,
removed the mound.
now isn't Linden Hall? Is that on a hill? I wonder if that's a mound.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good. Yeah. Thinking about the position of the mansion, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, you're right. I should go out there and look at it more.
Yeah.
You
Check
would
it
say,
out. Yeah. I don't know if it's still
You can
open.
see as a matter of fact, Mom had us up there for we were just up at the Linden Hall restaurant, and the guy, golf course, and Mom, when Mom was a kid, her dad worked there, and
Really?
they were really close friends with the groundskeeper. But she said, "Look," and she took it. She played there all the time because her dad was there,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "Look across the field. You can see from the Linden Hall uh, golf course restaurant the way you can see the mound. So if that would be interesting. Once again, mounds connected from the
Yeah.
mound builders going back in time with ancient connection to the UFOs and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah B. Cochran. She was first cousin to my grandmother.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know. She said, "Where's Mary?" Gina said, "Well, before the show, where's Mary from?" Oh, I said, "Oh, here."
Vanderbilt. Yeah.
And I told her about you and Chuck being cousins and stuff. And
Yes.
yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
small world.
Fayette
But
County, born and bred.
would then you would know now. Uh, Friends of mine used to be the security guards at Linden Hall during the winter. When it's closed,
Mm-hmm.
and they they had a lot of experiences there at the mansion. So they called me in to do an investigation, because that's what I do. That I do ghost investigations. So my gosh, this was a long, long time ago. Probably the late 90s.
Oh,
And so they took me in and they showed me where all the noise is coming from. But one of the stories they told me, and I find this very interesting that you guys are talking about these mounds, but they said that Mrs. Cochran built her bedroom so she could look out her bedroom window and see her son's grave
yeah,
in Cochran Cemetery.
yeah,
And so you can look out of that mound, like it is on a mound, which again, I didn't even think about,
Yeah.
yeah,
to look over to that other mound. And no wonder there's so much energy between, so much
yeah,
activity.
yeah. Go check
Wow.
that
Yeah.
out.
Once
I'm
again, full
curious.
circle. What's that, Mary?
Yeah, check that out. Let me know.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. I mean, since I'm into mound research,
Yeah,
Gina and I and Angie, that girl I was talking to you about that lived that moved up to County Line Road, right by Trent. That she's right there with Bigfoot and Mothman and now Goatman. They're all hanging out together. But uh, we went to Moundsville to investigate. Gina and I and Angie, and we went to Mick's house. And Gina, you should tell her a little bit about that investigation real fast,
yeah,
because it was very. Well, I find it fascinating that this whole conversation came back to the mound builders, and I'm really fascinated with this research and then finding Mick's book, and it was interesting. We were at Mick's house, and Mick he's really fascinated with what Gina does. She's a she uh,
What I do, I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know.
She's a psychic, and,
Yeah,
and
whatever.
Mick's very fascinated with psychics because that's how he wrote his book and everything.
yeah, yeah,
So to have Gina there with her psychic ability, it was exciting for him because they've been trying to solve some mysteries, and Gina and Angie were in tune with the mound and everything that was going on there. And tell her about what we found out about the towers. Uh,
Oh, okay. Um, he was talking about there being towers, and when I do what I do, and I don't even know what it is, I don't label anything
hmm,
that I do, because I just, like I said, I'm a feeler, whatever that means, because it means different things to different people.
yeah,
Um, but I do a lot on pen and paper. When things start coming through, I grab pen and paper and just, whatever that is. And he is telling me about these towers that are away from the mound itself. They sit at different places. So I guess on different mounds then, right? Is that
no, well, Moundsville is basically I call it Mecca of the Adena people, who were basically the giants, because I believe they came from all over to this is a very Moundsville is a very amazing place, guys. You got to get down there to
yeah,
and when you go see the mound, just remember there was more than one mound. I mean, the whole it was like I said, it was a sacred place. It had sacred energy, which made me think of this while we are talking about. Uh, she was talking about Linden Hall being on a
right?
mound, and me talking about I know the grave the cemetery is a mound, and now thinking out of the box and looking at it at UFOs would look at the area. It's a hot spot for UFOs all along Scottsdale Dawson Road. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's all clicking in my brain. That's why I wanted to bring up this. So down in Moundsville, what happened with the towers? Uh, there's four towers, and they were trying to figure out. they built these stone towers, which were basically they lit them at certain times uh, during they were worshiping the earth and all so they Gina actually discovered when they lit the towers.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was doing my pen and paper, and he was talking about how they would light those four towers that are a little
Mhm.
bit of a distance away. And um and I said, no, 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 they weren't lit at the same time. They were only lit at the same time twice a year. And he said, I don't remember. I was doing it very quickly. And what I communicated to him is what, what I, I felt, I guess, not necessarily what I was told, but what I was felt is that they kept a balance throughout the year. And that it was almost acted as a clock of sorts. But
Oh,
the only time all four were lit was at the equinox
okay.
twice a year. And so they would vary. It would either be, tower 1 and 2, or tower 1 and 3, or tower 4 and 1, 2, or uh, but
Hmm.
but but that's, I mean, I don't understand any of that. Terry, who's more into history, or this Mick, who
Yeah.
understands the details, I'm just shown what I'm shown, and I let them fill in the blanks.
But
Right.
But
basically, like this was part of a mystery they were trying to solve,
right,
and it helped Mick out with his research. And of course, it helped me because I'm really fascinated with them. But what fascinates me, and back to make a full circle, it took a long time to get to. Uh, Around these mounds, and remember I was saying I have a theory that there's a portal. Maybe the UFOs go through a portal.
Mhm.
I found it interesting that the mound, there's a mound there. It's like I think mounds because I when I took you guys down, your crew down to Ryerson Station, I
Yeah.
discovered myself that there's a portal uh, where the mound they built the park ranger's house. Well, it wasn't someone built their house on a mound in Ryerson Station State Park, and right near that mound is where I discovered there was a portal by just throwing a rock. I was walking with the flag, and I walked 10,000 miles for the troops and patriotism for 7 years and 30 pairs of boots. That's a long story. Could
Yeah.
take a whole show for that. But anyways, it was a cold day, and it was for they have a skating rink there, and I, like a kid, I just picked up a rock and I wanted to break the ice, and I threw it real hard, and it hit the ice, and it bounced, but there was no noise. And
Huh.
then like about like I don't know, a minute later, you heard the rock hit and the sound came back.
Oh, wow.
You know, oh, it's after 9. Okay, yeah. See, we could talk. Oh, I'm sorry. Tina just pointed out to me that once again the time flew.
It did, yes. No, it's fascinating, once we get into, we go uh, through the different segments of what you have experienced and seen, but it all kind of ties together, and it's fascinating. Um,
Yeah, and I have that theory about Bigfoot going in and out of portals himself
yeah,
because we have that trail cam that caught that image of a Bigfoot, which we think is Bigfoot. A psychic friend of ours said that's Bigfoot coming through. I said I'll put that trail once again. Go to the ADHD historian, and I'll reshare that photo of what we think is Bigfoot from the trail cam, and
yeah,
I'll do everything that we talked about with the mound that where they found their skeletons and things. It's very interesting subject. The giants who were the Adena people and stuff. So, yeah.
yeah. I'll see if I can link your page. Okay. Yeah, yeah, I just find that, especially the mounds, I've always found those fascinating. Um, and it struck me, about Linden Hall, being up there and thinking, different stories that my dad told me about, whenever he was little, and they would go up there, Sarah B would invite them, my grandma and, you know, grandpap and the kids to come up. And I know his two older brothers, they were twins. They would always get in trouble up there. They would take the canoe and go out on the pond, and I think the one time they sunk the canoe, or the rowboat. So they were in trouble.
That's funny. Kids.
Yes. Let's see. There we go. I'll get the link and share this. All right. Switch. All right, no. Videos, podcasts. Let's see. Uh, hard to find things in here. Oh, on my cell phone. Oh, goodness, come on. Where is it? Switch. No, I can never find things when are here. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. All right, come on. Open up. Of course. This is going to be stubborn. All right, there we are. Okay, there we are. There's a link to the ADHD Historian Facebook page. So guys, go ahead and click on that link and check out his page and explore.
Put up. Got lots of ghost pictures for people to look at. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I'll reshare the giants and the mound builders and stuff.
Okay.
I'll work on that this week. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, good. Well, tell you what, I see Bigfoot New York Todd just came in. Hey, Todd. And Patrick Noble, who see every month, at the end of the month, I have a fan appreciation day where I do a giveaway. And Patrick Noble, he was a winner. He won one of my T-shirts. And
I'm wearing one today.
Pardon me?
You can't. I'm wearing mine today. You can't see it, but I wear it a lot. I appreciate the T-shirts.
Oh, no, I do appreciate. Well, you came to Ryerson Station and you were so helpful. Um, talking to everyone and showing them around, and talking about the history and the hot spots and so on. And then you and Gina coming in this evening. I do appreciate this so much. I truly do. Like I said, I got so little sleep last night, and I'm just I'm glad that there's somebody else on here talking.
Hey, this is what we do. We love this subject, and
Thank you, Mary. It was an absolute honor to meet you, and I hope that we'll be able to talk again.
Absolutely. And next time that we go up to, the different festivals in the area and camping at Ryerson Station, I hope that you're able to come up and meet up with us, and or
I would love.
else.
Hey, anytime, Mary, you need a pinch hitter, that's what I do. They even do that with me at the Natural Way. Shane, when he doesn't want to talk anymore, he pulls me off the bench to talk with Mom on the radio show, or store's radio. I do that with the Bigfoot, the fat Bigfoot people. I'm always on call for them whenever they need someone cancels. I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Thank you so much, and thank you, everybody.
thank you. And we'll have you both on here again, because these guys have many more stories. I can tell you that. And it's just fascinating. And again, I appreciate it. And everyone, I appreciate you showing up and joining the show. And don't forget, hit the thumbs up. Okay, get on there, hit that thumbs up, because it helps us out so much. And okay, guys, well, we'll see you again next week. And Gina and Terry, we'll have you on again sometime.
thank you.
We'll see when we have another opening and get you on here.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank you, Mary.
All right.
Wishing everybody a good evening. I'm gonna
Thank
go
you.
out and look for some Bigfoot and UFOs right now.
There you go.
I'm all fired up.
Great. All right. Good night, all. God bless. And we'll see you next week. Monkey Wench out.